the opposite direction, therefore it will be negative. OA is in the direction, so start with this one, which is vector OA, combined with the OB in this case. So when you hear me use combined, usually that's the terminology that we use in vectors. So OA is positive vector A minus OB is simply vector B. Please, if you didn't get the concept of that, go to my introductory video, then you'll be able to well understand what I talked about. So let's try to see and how you can apply this concept in the exam. Of course, you may use also borrow the concept of the midpoint formula that we use under coordinate geometry, where we say the midpoint is the average of the x value and the y value, where we say it is the sum of the x values, you divide it by 2, comma, the sum of the y values, for example, y1 plus y2, divide it by 2. That's what we mean when you're finding your MP, your midpoint. So you need to remember such concept, because such concept you will be applying them under vector geometry. Of course, in a later video I'll teach you about directed line segment, where you have to put on some sort of a graph a directed line segment. But let's quickly look at a few examples from the ECZ exam. So with me, I've got some few sample questions that we can look at and see how we can go, answering them. So the first one there says that M is the point 0,5 and Mn is that, so the vector from M to N is negative 3,4. Remember, that's a vector. That's what I told you. When they write in column form, that's a vector. When they write, horizontally like that, that means that's a coordinate. So find ON. So they want you to find ON. Now, what do you know about Mn? So let's try to look at the solutions there. So what do you know about Mn? Well, because it is starting from the origin, from what they have told you there, ON, you can find what Mn is. How do you do it? So remember, start with M. It is actually positive. So ON, in this case, minus the vector OM, if you remember that concept. So the question is saying we find ON. So we find ON. So how do I do this? You can take this one you can take it the other side. That's what we mean. In simple terms, in order to find the vector O to N, it is going to be Mn, the vector from M to N, plus OM. That's what we mean there. So how is that going to be? So it is going to be ON will be equal to, what is Mn? You already have that. It is negative 3,4 in column form, plus what is OM? Remember, you have the pointer, you have the point M. So the point M that they have given you, the point M is simply 0,5. So if you are starting from the origin, which is OM, and you're writing it in vector form, you just change this coordinate into column form. So that would be 0,5, but you write them in column form. So therefore my OM is simply 0,5. That's what we mean. And you add or subtract what is corresponding. So it is negative 3 plus 0, negative 3 plus 0 there, and that would be 4 plus a 5 there. So what will that give you? It is going to be negative 3, 4 plus 5, that is a 9. So therefore, our ON, our vector ON, is equal to negative 3 and 9,9 in column form. So that's basically the way you can go about it. It is not complicated. Let's try to move on and look at the second question there. So according to the second question that we do have there, question number 2 there, it says the points P and Q have coordinates 2,4 and negative 3,1 respectively. Well, when they use the word respectively, it simply means the way they are following each other. So P is that coordinate, Q is that coordinate. Then they tell you express PQ as a column vector. So they want us to find PQ. So remember the concept. Mainly, these are going to be position vectors. So PQ, you start with this one because it's positive. So it is OQ, minus the vector OP, because these are starting from the origin. There will be position vectors. So OP on top there. So what is my OQ, remember they have given you the point P. The point P, they told you is 2, 4, and the point Q is simply negative 3, 1. So now if you want to write this as a position vector O to P, you just need to change this coordinate 2, 4. Write them in column form. So if you want to change OQ as Q as a position vector, just change this to a column, write it in column negative 3, 1. That's what we mean. So there's really nothing complicated. So what is OQ? OQ is simply negative 3, 1 in column form minus that one OP, because it's now a vector in column form 2, 4. That's what you do. Remember, you add what is corresponding there. That is what we mean, or subtract what is corresponding. So it is going to be negative 3 minus 2, and here it will be 1 minus 4. So that's the way it is going to be. Therefore, PQ will be equal to negative 3 minus 2, same signs you add, so that is negative 5, 1 minus 4, that will give me negative 3. Different side, you subtract and get the sign from the bigger one. So therefore, our PQ is negative 5, negative 3 in column form, because that's a vector. No wonder it says express PQ as a column vector. So in paper 1, you don't even need to struggle. This is going to be very simple if you look at it and you practice through. The key is you practicing through the question. Let's look at question number 3. It says the vector PQ. So they have given us the vector PQ. It's that. Given that the point P is that, find the coordinates of Q. So this time they want you to find the coordinates. Now P, they have given you it's 1, 4, and they want you Q, you do not know, they want you to find the coordinate of Q. But PQ, the vector PQ, they have actually told you negative 3, 2. That's what they have done. So what do you need to do? Well, go back to PQ. How do I get PQ? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Or PQ, start with that one. It is a positive, so it will be OQ from the origin minus OP. That is going to be negative. So you want to find Q. So how do I find Q? This OP can be taken to the other side. The sign here will change it to become positive. When this goes the other side, it will become OQ will be equal to PQ plus OP. So that's the idea. So how is that going to be? What is my PQ? My PQ, it is negative 3, 2 plus what is my OP? Remember, when you have got the point P, which is 1, 4, and you want to start from the origin OP, just change this into column form. So it will be 1, 4 in column form. So it will be 1 and a 4. Write them in column form. Of course, if you notice there, OQ will be equal to, so you add what is negative 3 plus 1. So OQ, let me just write it there. It is going to be negative 3. So that would be negative 3 plus 1 there. And at the bottom, it is 2 plus 4. So therefore, OQ will be equal to, that will give us a negative 2. 2 plus 4, that will give us a 6. Now remember, this is a vector. If you want to get, because it says find the coordinate of the point Q, so you just change there and therefore say, or the coordinate of the point Q now, you write them in horizontal form. So that would be negative 2, 6. So that is the coordinate of the point Q. So just change this and write them in what we said has been in horizontal form. Remember, that is what I told you. I told you to say when you write in the form, when they write in the form x, y, when you write like this is a vector. But when you change this and translate it x, y, write it in horizontal form, what you have here is simply these are coordinates. And that's the same thing I've done. Since OQ is equal to negative 2 and a 6, if I want to get Q, just the coordinate Q, I just need to change this one 2, 6. That's basically the simple idea that you need to